Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Purpose Partner Path podcast, where we help women at Crossroads rediscover who they are so they can become unshakable and live with strategic grace. I'm your host, Wendy Gladney, also known as the Purpose Partner, and I am so grateful that you've joined us today. You know why? Because I am excited because I have a special guest today, and that is my daughter, Courtney Sabra Marie Harris. Courtney is a professional working with the Housing Authority for the City of Los Angeles, but she's also a professional photographer. You know, a lot of those pictures you see of me out there, she's the one who does those for me and makes sure that her mother looks great. She is also on the board of directors for Forgiving for Living. She's a wife, a mother, a daughter, a friend, and just someone that you can depend on. This episode explores how women navigate multiple identities and responsibilities without losing their sense of self and without losing their joy or purpose. Through our mother-daughter conversation, we're going to invite you to reflect on your own crossroads and how to carry your various crowns with grace. Today's conversation is titled Wearing Many Crowns, A Daughter's Journey Through Life's Crossroads. So you know what? Go grab your cup of coffee or a cup of tea. Courtney, you have yours? And let's get started.
Exhale, let go, and enjoy the purpose. Partner.
Woohoo! I'm so excited. Courtney, thank you so much for joining me today. Can you just share a little bit about yourself with our audience?
Certainly, thank you, and it's my pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me on. As you said, I am a wife, I'm a mother, I'm a daughter, I'm a friend, I wear many hats. I do work for the Housing Authority of the City of Los Angeles, and I work in marketing and media. And I also, on the side, am a photographer, and I do enjoy that very much. I take pictures of families, events, loved ones. And of course, I love doing maternity photo shoots and engagement shoots. Those are some of my favorites.
Wow. That is amazing. And I always want to thank you so much for helping me to just be my best self and look my best self for the work that I do out in the community. But you know what? Like so many women, you are navigating multiple roles at one time, and each of them are meaningful and each can be very demanding. So today, we're going to talk a little bit about what it looks like to carry many crowns without letting any one of them crush your joy. So Courtney, when you think about this season of your life, what crossroads do you feel you're standing at?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like as a new mom, my baby just turned 1 December 5th, so less than a month ago. And as a new mom and a wife, a relatively new wife, got married a few years ago. And as a career woman, the crossroads I find myself at is wanting to focus more on my family while still paying attention to my career. I'm not in a position where I can just quit my job, but I'm grateful to have one, and I'm grateful to have a job that allows me some flexibility. COVID was a very difficult time for all of us, but I think that one of the good things that came out of it, if there can be a silver lining, is the switch to a lot more teleworking opportunities. And so I'm grateful that I can telework and go into the office. I have a hybrid schedule that allows me to spend more time at home with my little one.
That's so good. And so with that, just what do you think has been the toughest thing for you to balance?
As
Because, the thing about it is they always say that we can have anything that we want in life, but we also know it can't always be at the same time. So just you've already just shared, a little bit about your heart and what you're doing, but what's the toughest balancing part of it for you?
That's a difficult one. I think it's just not saying yes to everything.
That's a good one. That's a good
Yeah.
one. That's a
I
good
think
one.
this is a lesson that I'm learning, as you wear more and more crowns, to whom much is given, much is required, right? And so
Yeah.
it's just knowing where to focus your efforts and your energies. You can't do it all at once.
That's so true. That's great advice. And I think everyone that's listening, all, whether we're seasoned mothers or new mothers, new wives, seasoned wives, that understanding what to say no to and what to give our energy to, I think never goes out of style or out of fashion or out of season. So when
And when to accept help.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
And when to accept help.
And we're going to get to that because that is so important. And when I think on motherhood, I feel like it has always been a way of reshaping us. I remember, of course, when you are my firstborn. So I remember when I entered motherhood, how that really reshaped us. And I know for me, one of the biggest joys of my life has been being your mom, and of course your brother's mom as well. And I think of it as a gift that never stops giving, because I mean, I don't care, even as when your children are grown like us, it's a whole different type of mothering. But I will always be your mom, and so you will always be a mom. And so let me ask you, how did becoming a mother change how you see yourself?
Motherhood, and I'm not telling you anything that you don't know, is extremely humbling.
Yes.
I am a very type A individual. I like things to be a certain way. And I think that I already knew that about myself, of course, but I think that being in this position kind of augmented that, really put that under a microscope. And it's showed me that, like, I can't have a specific expectation about how things are going to go. I just need to be a lot more free-flowing. Still totally working on that. I've not arrived. But that's something that motherhood has shown me, that I need to relax just a little bit more.
I think I'm still working on that. So I'm willing to take any advice that you give me. So let me ask you, what parts of you have grown stronger since becoming a mother?
I would say this is still growing, and there's always room for improvement. And I pray that I can look back and say that I've grown even more from this point today. But I would say patience. I find myself, sometimes I'm low on patience, and I need to have a lot more grace. My entire pregnancy, I wore a bracelet that said grace, and now it's part of Zoe's name.
Yes.
And it's a reminder for me to just slow down and give myself more grace and give others in my life grace too, whether it's my whatever.
Earlier I was asking you, like, what's been the biggest challenge in your life, period. But if we just want to focus right now before we shift over to talking about being a wife, as a mother, what do you think has been the biggest challenge? Not just the lessons learned, like patience, but challenge.
I think it's kind of like I said, maybe comparison, and not having an expectation for how things are going to go.
Yes.
Because there's so many opinions out there. And I think that that's one of the biggest challenges. It's like, sometimes you can have too much information at your fingertips, and it's a good thing and it's a bad thing. Because when you were raising me, the way I'm raising Zoe, you didn't have the internet at your fingertips.
Right. Right.
And so it's good and bad. And I sometimes need to shut out all of that extra noise.
Yes.
Because it can make you feel like, well, what am I doing wrong if my baby's not sleeping through the night? Or, those kinds of things. That's been very challenging.
Yeah. And it's interesting that you talked about the internet, because one of the things I was going to talk about is, back when I had you, it was about calling up your mom or your grandmother, your auntie, or your best friend. And you're like, hey, how do I do this? What do I need to do to make her do this or that? Whereas nowadays, they also have so much around AI and, like you said, internet and blogs and podcasts, and everybody has their opinion. And you have to ultimately get to a place where you do what works for you and your husband, for your household. And then, of course, we all have challenges. We all end up having lessons that we learn. But we know at the end of the day, because we also both love the Lord, that He's going to also guide and direct our footsteps. And I have to tell you, I think you're just an amazing mother. So let's just shift over here. I want to ask you. So in shifting and talking about being a wife, because when you're a young mom and a young wife, oh gosh, we have to sacrifice a lot, and because, they say that a happy wife is a happy life, but it also, there's so much that ends up being on our shoulders to keep the family going, to keep the house going, to keep everything going. So let me ask you, what role has marriage played in helping you become a better Courtney?
Marriage is probably the hardest thing that I've ever done, and I've only been doing it for a few years. Um, there's some similarities, right? Patience, grace, lots of grace. You said happy wife, happy life, and I know that that's been like a mantra that people have said for many, many years.
Yeah.
I once heard somebody say happy spouse, happy house.
Oh, let me write that down. I like that.
Because, yes, obviously happy wife, happy life, right? But I think that it's just as important for us as wives to pour into our husbands. And that's something that, if I can be totally transparent, especially during my pregnancy and postpartum, I neglected my husband in a lot of ways, not intentionally, but I just inward. I kind of dealt with a little bit of postpartum depression. And now that I'm sort of coming out of that fog, that cloud is like lifting a little bit. I know that it's time for me to re-engage and pour back into my marriage in a way. It's very, very important.
And what I want to tell you is I would say the majority of women that I know, myself included, especially when you have your first child, you're navigating so many emotions and feelings, and your body's changing, your mind's changing. Yes, there's always going to be somebody that gets the short end of the stick, and usually they say it's the person that's the closest to you. So when you're married, that's usually your spouse, your husband. So, that's very understandable. So I think my next question, as it relates to we're trying to, in this podcast, we're always trying to help women become their best selves or to learn something. So with that, how do you now make sure you do find time for each other while, you're still trying to take care of yourselves and raising a young baby, a beautiful, beautiful baby girl, and just do all the other things that take your time, because you also have, both of you have parents, both of you have outside obligations that you're involved with. How do you make sure that you keep that flame lit?
Yeah, that's so important. That's such a good, we have to be intentional. And we have to be on the same page about it. And we are, with the turn of the year, it's a year, and at the beginning of the new year, we sat down together as a family. She was running around the kitchen with a little walker, and he and I sat at the table together, and we wrote on our vision and goals for 2026. And we broke it down into categories like financial goals, spiritual goals, health goals, physical goals, and relational goals. And part of the relational goals is that we want to have more date nights. And we just have to make it a priority, and tap into our network and our community and our village. And, there's also babysitters that you can vet and interview and pay.
Right.
And so that's something that we intend to do this year, more of.
The word you use that I really love is intentional. That you're going to be intentional about what you're doing. And as you know, my dear daughter, I understand the path that you're on, because like I said, I was a young wife, a young mother, an entrepreneur, and trying to juggle all the plates and wear all the crowns. And I know how difficult that can be. And, we have to make sure that we are careful, and like you said, ask for help. When you need help, whether it's from each other or on the outside from family, or have to hire help, or whatever it is, and making sure you get the kind of help that's gonna make a difference in your daily life. So with that, let's kind of flip over to your work life. So why was it important for you to continue pursuing your career and your entrepreneurial goals after becoming a wife and a mom?
Well, okay. I mean, that's kind of twofold. So after becoming, I don't feel like I'm in a position to not work.
Like most of us.
But it is still important to me to feel that I add value, that I bring something to the table. And it's not that moms or wives that don't work don't bring something to the table. So by all means, I don't. But just still kind of feeling like you have some purpose. I think it's also good to be able to get out of the home sometimes whatever that means for you,
Yeah.
whether that's going to an office or being out in the field or whatever it is that you're doing. I think it's important to have something else that you're passionate about.
Yeah.
Because you can go fill your cup and come back home and be full to pour back into your family.
So true. And speaking about, helping and serving, you also serve on the board of Forgiving for Living. And tell me about that. What gives you the desire to want to be involved with Forgiving for Living and serve on the board? Because you've been on the board for many, many years.
Yes, yes. And it's an honor. Obviously you and my dad, you guys raised us in a way that you put it into us that service is important. It's not just part of our Christian principles, but it's just who we are and the fabric of who we are. Even Spelman College, my alma mater, the motto is enter to learn, exit to serve. And so that's how I govern myself.
Yes.
And it's an honor to be able to sit on this board. I've watched Forgiving for Living since its founding back in 1999, and I just love what it's about. And for young girls, I was a mentor to a young lady many years ago. I'm still in touch with her today. We talked on New Year's Day.
Yes.
And just to see how far she's come. She's a wife and a mother now herself.
Wow.
And so
full circle.
It's very full circle. And so it's just a blessing. Blessed to be a blessing. And so it's my honor and privilege to give back in this way.
Well, I want to personally thank you for giving back because, as you know, it is a family nonprofit that we come together to make a difference. And I know that I can't do what I do without you. So I want to say thank you. So let's pause and turn our attention to the importance of self-care. We've talked about a lot of the pouring out right now of wife, mother, helping others. And I know for some women, it is often misunderstood because we don't want to appear selfish. But I know self-care helps us care for others. It's kind of similar, like you were saying, filling your cup so that you can come back. But what does self-care realistically look like for you in this season of your life?
Yeah. For me, self-care is definitely going and getting the massage. Obviously, we love that. We love a Bert Williams day. But it's also as simple as like spending time with a close girlfriend, or having a really great phone conversation with someone that you love, your mom, your best friend. That's self-care too, because you can walk away from that conversation feeling lighter, feeling better, feeling full, in the best way. And so that's for me in this season, especially like women that are going through similar things as me, other young moms, other new moms, I can bounce ideas off of them, ask them questions similar to what you said. It's kind of old school, right? I don't want to run to the internet first. I want to talk to my village. And that really pours into me. That's self-care for me.
Well, I know something else that you do that has been an encouragement in my life, and that is you make sure that you put in exercise, whether you're doing yoga or going for walks or whatever you're doing, because mom's not always been the greatest at the exercise part, but you motivate me when you tell me sometimes, Mom, I'm on my way out, to my yoga or whatever. I just want you to know that, that really makes a difference in my life. And you don't know how sometimes even just sharing that could help someone else who's trying to like make time for that.
Yeah, I do love doing that. Yoga is something that I feel even prepared me for pregnancy and childbirth.
Yeah.
And I would vouch for it, for anybody, any age, and, there's levels, and the thing that's beautiful about yoga is that it's very personal. It's not a competitive sport. You don't have to look at your neighbor and see what they're doing. It's about the progress that you've made from yesterday to today or last month to this month. So that's what I love about it too.
I love that. Thank you so much. So what lesson has this season taught you about grace and having grace towards yourself?
Yes, I kind of touched on that. I can be very hard on myself, and if I'm honest, in the past can be and have been like hard on the people that I love too, because I have high expectations.
Yeah,
and I don't mean any harm. That's what my grandmother used to say. I don't mean any harm, but it's just something that I am growing in. I want to believe that I'm growing in grace. It's like a muscle too.
Yes, it is.
Work it up.
Yes, it is.
So that's what I'm being forced to do. is work on that. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to put it in Zoe's name, because hopefully it would serve as a reminder to me to slow down and give more grace.
And then what does it mean to you to be unshakable?
I think it just means, being steadfast. Life comes at you fast, and there's a lot of things that can come to disrupt your peace. Again, like I said, at the area, A comes before B. So when things can get a little bit chaotic and out of sorts and out of order, you kind of have to just be able to stand in the midst of the chaos. And that's about being grounded, right? If you don't have deep roots, a windstorm can come and just blow you out of here. And so that's where my faith comes in. And being unshakable is about being grounded in my faith too.
Beautiful, beautiful. So what encouragement would you give to another woman who happens to be listening to our podcast, who has to wear many crowns as well?
My encouragement would be to surround yourself with good people, other good women especially, who want to see you win. Because there's going to be times when your crown may shift a bit, and they can come and say, let me fix that for you. And that's the best feeling in the world.
I love that. That's beautiful. Yes, that is so true. Okay, I have one final question for you. When you look ahead in time, what kind of woman and example do you hope your daughter Zoe sees when she looks at you?
That's a great question. I want my daughter to be inspired by me. I want her to see a woman that was full of love and who loved the Lord, first and foremost. That prayerfully I do grow in these areas, right? A woman that was gracious, a woman that was patient, and essentially possessing the fruit of the Spirit, just patient, kind, loving, long-suffering. And it's a journey. So hopefully I can work on myself every day to be that example for her.
Wow, beautiful. Well, I think you're on the right path, and I think you're doing a good job. I really do.
I love you.
I love you. So, Courtney, thank you so much for sharing your heart so openly today. And to every woman who's listening, whether you're wearing one crown or many, remember this. You were never meant to choose between who you are and who you're called to be. Stay true to yourself, and I believe the rest will follow. Walk forward with intention. Wear your crowns with confidence. And when the weight feels heavy, let grace carry you. So Courtney, again, thank you for joining us. I so appreciate you. You're so beautiful inside and out. And I'm so proud to be your mother. So I just want to say, if this message has blessed anyone that's had an opportunity to see this today and you feel like it can bless someone else, please share it. Please tell someone else so that they can hear and be encouraged on their journey as well. And remember, I'm Wendy Gladney, your purpose partner. And you can follow me on my social media. All my socials are at Wendy Gladney, whether it's Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, or YouTube. And you know what? If you go over to my website at wendygladney.com, you'll also receive a boatload of free downloads. And I'd love to see you again next week. So again, thank you, Courtney, and God bless you. And I hope that, just someone will see this today and be just so encouraged by your heart and just sharing that even as a young woman, you could carry all of these crowns with grace, with strategic grace, and be unshaken. God bless you.
God bless.
Okay, bye-bye.
Exhale, let go, and enjoy the purpose. Partner, heartfelt. Podcast.